In this video, I am going to be analyzing why it is going to be almost impossible for Democrats to take back the Senate in 2026, no matter how badly Trump messes up. This is not a video that's meant to be politically partisan in any way. I'm simply making this video because I want to outline just how difficult it is. Looking at these election predictions, there's a reason why all of them are showing Republicans having at least 51 seats in their disposal. This is a very tough map for Democrats. 2024. You might think that Democrats did poorly after losing 4 seats and losing the Senate. But given how hostile the map was, it's actually almost a miracle that the Democrats only lost 4 states. They lost Montana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. Arizona was actually a gain from the independents. And Joe Manchin was also like an independent for a bit, but then reverted, back to, but then retired. But again, like West Virginia is one of the most hostile states for a Republican, and they won it by, for a Democrat, they won it by 40%. It's very tough to, Montana, the Democrat got ousted by 7%. Ohio, the Democrat got ousted by 3.5%. In Pennsylvania, that was the one where it really could have gone either way, but it was still a win for the Republicans. But Democrats, they kept Wisconsin, they kept Michigan, they kept Nevada, they kept Arizona, as much as those margins might have been, relatively small. Looking at the presidential election, the Republicans, they obviously, in West Virginia, they steamrolled that easily. Montana, Trump won by a lot more than the Democrat senator lost his seat by. Same thing in Ohio, it was a much wider margin. But then look, Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, all these states are won by Trump. Democrats could easily be facing 43 seats right now. They really could be. Because Wisconsin, Democrats won by less than 1%. In Michigan, Democrats won by less than 1%. In Nevada, Democrats won by less than 2%. And in Arizona, the Democrats actually won by 2.5%. Because they put up an extreme right winger against the Democrats. But still, Trump, if all these states voted in line with how they voted for Trump, then Republicans would have 57 seats, and Democrats with their caucus would only still be at 43. So it's actually, in a way, a relatively good result, because only one state, actually went against them, Pennsylvania. I mean, there's a reason why these predictions were saying that Republicans were going to outright flip the Senate, because in a lot of cases, because in order for that to really not be the case, you really needed West Virginia was going to flip either way. Montana was likely to flip. You really needed Ohio to come through for the Democrats. And Pennsylvania was a bit of a shock. I will give you that. But, still. Oh, my God. And again, looking at 2026 in the predictions, they're saying that Republicans are going to have 51 seats. They're saying Georgia, Maine, Michigan, Minnesota, and North Carolina are the biggest battlegrounds. So in this video, I'm just going to sort of go into why I think, looking at the potential swing states and where there's some room for trouble. And a bit of an underrated one is Virginia. As of now, they're saying that it's safe for the Democrats. And while I think it is true, given how much Mark Warner has really been able to win a seat by, he won a seat in 2014 in a red wave, and all that stuff, and it's not letting me go, it doesn't eat, but he smashed it in 2020, but this could be a bit of a race. if Glenn Youngkin runs for the seat and Mark Warner doesn't, right now they're both in a potential category, we got a race. Glenn Youngkin is the governor of Virginia, and he was able to, in 2021, shock the country when he beat Terry McAuliffe and won the Virginia governor election. Which, remember, you can only run for one term in Virginia, but it was, relatively consistent for Democrats for a couple elections. And 2021 comes along, and Glenn Youngkin flips the seat. However, you could tell that his popularity in Virginia was declining. They flipped the House of Delegates in 2021, the Republicans, only to then lose the House of Delegates in 2023 by a little bit, but it's only one seat. Could be two, but depending on how the governor election goes. But you could tell Virginia is becoming a little bit more friendly to Republicans. Also in 2020, Joe Biden just really has a major victory in Virginia, winning that state by over 10%. 2024, it now is back down to a 5.8% victory for the Democrats. So just something to look out for in the case that Glenn Youngkin runs and Mark Warner chooses not to. Virginia could be a bit of a race. I don't think that New Jersey is really in the same positioning. Cory Booker's filed paperwork. We don't know who the Republicans are even going to put up, and Cory Booker has been very consistent with the state of New Jersey. I get that. I get that. The 2013 special election in New Jersey was a flip, but Republicans only got the seat by appointment anyway. It's a long story. Democrats have been in control of the seat for a while. Looking at the 2020 U.S. presidential election in New Jersey, it was just a Democrat bloodbath, 16%. I get that in 2024 it really narrowed up to only be 5.9% in favor of the Democrats, but I don't think New Jersey is really going to be a swing state. And keep in mind that unlike Virginia, the Republicans could not break through in 2021. It got close, but they could not break through. And they flipped the seat in 2017. They flipped the governorship, and they held on as now as it might have been. And I get that 2025 we could see the governorship flip in New Jersey, but as of right now, they're saying it's probably going to be Democratic, even though Phil Murphy can't run. But going into the real swing states now. And for the record, Colorado, not going to be a swing state. John Hickenlooper is the incumbent governor. He flipped his seat from the Republicans by 9%. In the presidential election, Biden won Colorado by roughly 13%. And Harris still wins the state by 11%. Colorado, in terms of House representation, might be even with the seats, but we can really see Colorado is just going from a safe. Has gone from a swing state to being now just like a safe blue state. Honestly, at this point, New Mexico, which was also seen as a bit of a swing state but then shifted, is honestly a bit more of a swing state. At least New Mexico is showing new signs that it could potentially back a Republican, but Colorado is really nothing. I get it just flipped, but it's pretty safe for Democrats. Why isn't there even a page for this yet? For New Mexico? Oh, well. Anyway, back to the real swing states, because I've yammered about this long enough. Minnesota and Michigan both have retiring Democrats, but the governor of Minnesota is running. Peggy Flanagan. Oh no, the lieutenant governor. Ilhan Omar has expressed interest, but I don't think she would win either a primary or if she somehow does a general election, given her extreme anti-Semitic and left-wing views. And there's some other potential nominees for it, but we don't really even have a good Republican. The best option is probably Royce White, who is a former NBA player who played for the Houston Rockets. And I mean, like, his Wikipedia info box is literally a sports info box. That's why I don't think Minnesota is flipping. It could, but Republicans need to have a better candidate to go up with the Democrats' candidates. We don't know who's running in Michigan yet, but we have several options, although I'm not sure how good any of these people are. Republican, we also don't know. This is really going to be a big battleground with the incumbent Democrat choosing to retire. So, we'll see what happens in Michigan. As for another major swing state, Georgia. Now, Jon Ossoff won this one in a runoff by 1.2%. It was the most expensive Senate race in U.S. history. Everyone knew it was going to be close. It went to a runoff. The Democrats still won. But there's reasons to believe why Jon Ossoff's seat is a lot more vulnerable than Raphael Warnock. The special election in the runoff came down to a 2% victory for Raphael Warnock. And this actually gave Democrats control of the Senate, unlike the 2022 runoff in Georgia. But in 2022, we saw the Republicans put up Herschel Walker, who was actually an NFL player. He was actually an NFL player, a running back for the Cowboys, Vikings, Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys. He was actually a very good player, but you put him against Raphael Warnock, and I mean, Warnock won by almost 3%. So, but there's reason to believe why Warnock's seat is a little bit safer than Jon Ossoff, and Jon Ossoff is going to have a tough time in 2026. He has declared he's running for re-election. We don't know who's running against him. Kemp is a possibility. Buddy Carter seems more likely. If Marjorie Taylor Greene runs, then it's going to be an easy victory for Jon Ossoff. But if Mike Collins, John King, Riz McCormick run, even if it's not one of the other two, it's still going to be tough for Democrats to maintain their grip on this. And even New Hampshire, they're saying it's going to be about a lean Democrat. Now, Jeanne Shaheen filed paperwork, so I think she will be running for re-election. Scott Brown, though, has expressed interest in running. He was originally from Massachusetts, but now he represents New Hampshire. And he's a bit of an interesting one. He's an interesting one. Because he actually won a Senate special election in Massachusetts. Granted, he lost it immediately after, but he has shown that he can win over Democratic voters. Like, he has shown that he can win over Democrats. But now he's in New Hampshire. He actually ran for the seat in 2014, and lost badly. But I don't know. Sununu, though, is not running. He was a very popular governor of New Hampshire, and even though the state does lean Democrat, he was able to like really just put up huge margins in the state. Like he was able to consistently win the seat. 2020 wins it by 30%. It does now down in 2022. He doesn't run in 2024, and Republicans still maintain control of the governor race. So New Hampshire's gonna be interesting, but there's not really a whole lot of room for Republicans to gain seats. Maine is possible. Right now, I think it's going to lean Republican. Susan Collins has declared that she's running for re-election. We don't know who the Democrats are going to put up. If it's Jared Golden, who can actually somewhat win against Republicans, or Janet Mills, then I think Susan Collins is in trouble. This Maine is a pretty Democrat-leaning state, and Susan Collins is the last bastion of Republicanism, really, in the state of Maine, and that's why I really think that if Democrats gain Maine, then Maine will just lose any bit of being a swing state, and we saw that the same thing happened in Montana and Ohio. So, again, I don't know. It sort of depends on who the Democrats put up, but this could be an interesting race. I mean, Jared Golden is someone who has shown you time and time again that not only can he win over Democrats, over Republicans, because he's from Maine's 2nd District, which, when you look at who they've backed in a presidential election and anything like that, you'll see that usually they back Republicans. And yet they have a Democrat representative. Now, North Carolina is the other state that I think could be interesting. We don't know. Oh no, we do know Tom Tillis is running for re-election, but the Democrats right now, Wiley Nichols is pending announcement. Roy Cooper has expressed interest, and he's a former governor of North Carolina that won the state, even though every other way it votes for Republicans. He won it as a Democrat, and they still maintain it in 2024 in a landslide, actually. But Roy Cooper is someone who I think has potential to win this election. So this election could get very close if he runs. But like other states, like Florida is just too much of a Republican stronghold at this point. Texas is, I don't know. Corden is very popular. And I don't really see where else on this map we could see Democrats really take control. Like, that's the thing, is what I'm saying the whole time. It's going to be 51-49 Republicans' worst case scenario. We saw in 2018, it was we saw the House, Republicans absolutely got massacred in the House, and they still gained 2 seats in the Senate because the map was so unfavorable. Again, miracle for the Democrats, they kept, not just all the swing states, and they flipped some of them, like Nevada and Arizona, and also keeping Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania under their control. But the fact that they kept states like Montana, Ohio, and West Virginia under their control is a true miracle. Of course, they lost North Dakota, Missouri, Indiana, and Florida, but you could see how you could tell, and also the 2017 special election, Democrats actually winning Alabama somehow. It's in 2020 goes back to Republicans, is another like just big example of this. And again, in the House, like Republicans got massacred, seeing as they lost 42 seats, which is actually more than I thought that they lost. but they lost 42 seats, which is just, again, a humongous swing against them. It was the largest gain for Democrats since the 1974 elections, when they gained 49 seats and a supermajority. And looking at the 2018 and looking at the governorship elections, Democrats gained 7 of them. They gained 7 governorship elections. The Republicans' majority of governorships just really went away, and they've never recovered since 2018, seeing the results of each of these elections, and they keep hovering around the same spot. But the fact that they were able to really maintain everything, you maintain those seats in the House as possible, and I think the same thing is going to be true for Republicans in 2026, because they have a very good map, the same way they had a very good map in 2018. That's what I think. But